Welcome to Wednesday, Secular Soapbox Day today, here on the Skeptic Haven Network. Today's topic is leaving religion behind. I'll be joined by my favorite co-host, Apostacie. Special guests today will be Oz, Dr. Darrel Ray, and Neil 604. Let's start the show. Great music. Hey, everybody. How you guys doing?
Hi.
Darrel's missing, but that's okay. Oz, Neil, Apostacie. So good to have everybody on.
There's Darrel.
Welcome to the show. Darrel, welcome to the show.
Hey, sorry, I had to go take care of something real quick.
No worries.
So today we're going to be talking about leaving religion behind. I think we've all got a little story to share for that one, that's for sure. Apostacie, I saved this for the show. How long has it been since you've been out?
It's been almost a year. So
Wow.
I'm a baby.
You are.
I am.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Thank you.
We got to meet in person.
Yes, we did. Just earlier this month, Neil and I
Yeah.
got to meet. Yes. And my very first time ever talking about my story was on Neil's show back in April. So
Cool.
I got my YouTube start with Neil, and yeah.
And now look at you.
I'm your favorite co-host, Michael.
Now she's my favorite.
I've come a long way. No,
I love it. Awesome.
It's been good. Yeah.
So we're going to dive into everybody a little bit here. Just have everybody introduce themselves. Dr. Darrel Ray, we'll start with you.
Well, hi, I'm Darrel Ray. I'm the founder and president of Recovery from Religion and the Secular Therapy Project, and I also survived religion, so therefore Recovering from Religion is my organization.
Awesome. We're glad to have you here, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be here.
Thank
Oz,
you.
the man who needs no introduction, but Oz, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Sorry, who are you?
Damn it, I said he needs no introduction. Neil, thanks for joining us today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Neil.
Pleasure. Well, as Stacy, or I'm sorry, Apostacie.
Apostacie.
What the hell is it now?
It's a
Apostacie.
Okay.
It's just a play on my name and the word apostasy.
Yeah.
It was like staring me right in the face. I could not.
the whole time.
so clever.
Yes.
Well, I do a little show, and pretty much everyone here has been on it. So it's all about deconversions and how people find their way free of ridiculous belief systems. And I should say also harmful belief systems. As well.
Yes.
Thank you for your show.
To society. Yes, thank you so much for your show. You do a great service. Maybe we'll have you on for the Atheists in Action show. Awesome, man. Awesome work you do. So let's dive in a little bit about each person. Just Apostacie. What was it? What happened? Tell us your story.
Okay, I will try to keep this quick, but
The Cole's Notes version.
the Cole's notes, give everyone time because this is not my deconversion hour. But so I grew up in a very religious, charismatic home, and I was a very, very devout Christian. Doing something like this was never on my radar. I will be never in a million years did I think. I was devoted to Jesus. I was a sellout for Jesus. I was very, very committed to my faith, and I loved the Lord so much. And it was about last year around this time. So I've been having a lot of memories because it was around last year that a lot of it started to kind of fall apart, and I started having a lot of questions. And I had just moved away from my family, my church family, and a very strict church family. Even though I was raised charismatic, I ended up going into a Calvinist Reformed church the last 2 years of my Christian experience. And very strict. And so once we moved just a year ago, I wasn't feeling the pressure of being at church every week, twice on Sunday, because of the requirement. And I felt kind of free to explore some questions. And once I learned about some of the stories in the Bible, like Noah's Ark being found in other mythologies that predated the Bible, that might seem like such a small thing, but that was the first card to fall. And from there, I was like, okay, what? If that is the case, I need to know everything about what I believe, because if that is a lie, then this whole thing has to be a lie. So from there, I kind of did a deep dive, and my mind was just like blown. And what part? Yeah, so because I believed it was so infallible and my whole life was based on the Bible, it fell apart right there. And it's like, once you see something, you can't go back to seeing it a certain way, and that's where it all kind of unraveled. And I told my husband, I don't think I believe in God. And he was a very just a very good husband who stuck by me and went to church with me, but he had a hard time believing. And so when I did tell him, he was like, I don't think you're wrong, but let's just, take this slow, because anyone who knows you is going to think you've lost your mind if they think you don't believe in God. But I was like, but now I just feel so free. It was like all of a sudden the weight just came off of me, even though I was so committed. It was the strangest feeling of just being so happy to lose this entire identity of mine. So yeah, it was just about a year ago, and I have literally never been happier. And at the same time, it's been a real interesting process, but I don't think I've met nicer people along the way too, to be honest.
Just a bunch of baby eaters. That's all we are.
We're not that bad. We're not that bad.
No, so that's kind of keeping it short and sweet, I hope. But yeah, there was a lot of little things, but yeah. So
yeah, once that house of cards starts falling, man,
it just crumbled. It just crumbled.
You see behind the curtain. It's just like the Wizard of Oz. Once you've seen the guy who's running things, once you've seen the other crap, you can't go back.
And at one point I did say to my husband, I'm really scared because I'm afraid I'll go to hell if I dive into this. But I also want to dive into this. So what do I do? And so he just really calmed any fears that I had. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. And I don't believe in hell anymore. He's great. He's great. Yeah. So
awesome. Thank you. Now, Dr. Darrel Ray, I have never heard your deconversion story. Can you give us some cliff notes here?
Well, I'll tell you, you can hear it on Neil's podcast. So I don't want to spend a whole hour telling you my story. I'm much more interested in other people's stories. So if you don't mind, I will tell you the real short cliff's notes is in 2003. The flying spaghetti monster revealed himself to the planet. I quickly found out about it and became the high priest. I've been the high priest of the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster since about 2008. And that's the cliff notes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I don't have my regalia on today. I'm sorry. I didn't think about that. I guess I should have. But if you need a blessing, and as I said, you all are welcome to come by my place. Barb will make a spaghetti dinner for you.
I feel like I should be wearing a colander right now.
We all should, actually.
Well, if you want to be an acolyte of mine, you need a colander. Yeah. But we're fairly loose and open-minded about other people's delusions.
Praise his noodly goodness.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my quick story, Michael. Unless I mean, I really would rather hear other people's story. Thanks, though.
Yeah, of course, man. I'm just curious. Neil, I feel like this is your seat. I'm kind of sitting in your seat today. It's a little weird. It's a little off, but okay. So
it's shaped like my butt, so hopefully.
I noticed it was a little squirmy in here.
Wait a minute.
I've never heard your deconversion story. You've talked to hundreds of atheists at this point, right? I mean, what is your deconversion story? How did
I've
that
done
work?
over 400 interviews.
Holy cow!
Wow.
Congrats
Wow.
on that, by the way. That's amazing.
It's awesome.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, well, 3 nights a week.
Jeez.
I do take breaks every once in a while, but still, I mean, 3 nights a week. It's I still love doing it though. So, and I'm not going to
Good.
quit because there's always people leaving.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We send tons of people to see your podcast just because of that.
Oh, much appreciated, Darrell. Thank you.
Oh no, we do. We send tons of people there.
Yeah, it's good stories, man. And you're a great host. So
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
It really helps hearing other people's stories.
Yeah.
I still
It does.
listen,
Absolutely.
even though, I still love hearing people's stories. It helps.
you're right. It does help too.
Come on.
hearing
It
other
does.
people's stories.
Yeah.
Come on, Stacey. It's for my jokes, isn't it?
And your nice skin.
It's your awesome
Oh,
hair. That's what it is.
He has very nice
Mesmerizing.
skin. You can't.
Oz, your turn, man.
Well, I'm not sure how to follow that up, but
Yeah, I don't
Shows
know
your
because
hair
I didn't
first.
even say anything about my.
Yeah, I know you didn't. We don't even know.
I too grew up in a very, I guess, extreme version of the charismatic evangelical shit, and was literally born into it. My earliest memories. My mom was a full-time music minister, praise and worship pastor, whatever you want to call it. And really, my family line is full of pastors and ministers. My brother pastors a 700 or 800 member church here in Fort Wayne, where I live. So it's still very much around me, so to speak. So it makes for eventful holidays and birthdays and things like that when we do happen to get together. But for me, it was similar to what Apostacie said, but I was the full-time drummer at the time, and it was a little different because for me it was, and again I'm trying to give the abbreviated version here, but there happened to be a Sunday where I didn't have to play drums. I also oversaw all the small groups, so it happened to be this weird Sunday that I think it was the only time it ever happened that I didn't have to play drums. I didn't have to worry about any small group duties, and I didn't have to worry about any youth group duties. So it was like I had nothing to do but sit on the chair and watch and listen to everything. And as a drummer, my responsibility is to keep the 2s and the 4s, right? So I didn't much pay attention to the words. It was just like that's my job. And I started listening to the words of the music, and I'm like, this shit's creepy, man. This shit's creepy. And not only is it creepy, if my mom did anything for me to help me get to where I'm at today, and she's passed now, but she was relentless on teaching my brother and I how to study the Bible and how to dissect the Bible. And I'm listening to the words. I'm like, this is not in the book. What are we doing right now? And a lot of the worship songs sound like we were supposed to be like having sex with Jesus, and it was like, how did we get here? How did we go from amazing grace to making love to Jesus?
Come in me, Jesus.
And so I'm like,
Sloppy wet kiss.
yeah.
Personal space, Jesus. Personal space.
Yeah,
Hold on 1 minute here.
I remember, yeah, that was one of the songs I remember. It wasn't with that Sunday, but after that, I'm like, man, this shit's weird.
Before
But,
you go this way, I got the bark bag ready.
Perfect. It's necessary.
That same service, my brother was giving his message, and he used 2 scriptures kind of for 2 different reasons, but I don't even think he realized how much they contradicted each other. And all of a sudden, I remember sitting back in my chair, and like this light bulb went off. I was like, you know what? I've never sat down and read this book for me without the lenses of mom or pastor or youth pastor or so on and so forth. So I did that. That was its own process, and nobody knew that I did this. But on my way home from church that day, I stopped and bought a brand new Bible so that it didn't have my highlights and my notes and all that stuff. To guide my thoughts,
Awesome.
I stopped and got a brand new Bible, and started reading it. And I was doing that all alone. I hadn't told anyone where I was at and what was going on. And the 1-2 punch at the same time that I was really deconstructing and ultimately deconverted and like threw my hands up, like I have no good reason to believe this anymore. I was also going through a divorce, so it was like I was scared to death because I literally felt like I was losing everything. Yeah. And I remember I'd got an apartment here downtown Fort Wayne as I was going through the divorce, and it was a Sunday. I didn't have to work, and instead of going to church, I was online, and this is about the same time I had found out about Atheist Experience. And Matt Dillahunty, they had 3 colors. There was one, the first color, then there's a middle one, and the third color. The first and the third are the important ones, and I'll say it quickly. The first one, a caller called in, and Matt was talking about, I think it's in Hosea, where it's the, dash the kids' heads on the stone, rip the babies out of the mother's womb. And I remember I hit pause. I'm like, this dude's a liar.
I thought that was Psalms.
This dude, I doubt it. I think it's Hosea, but I could be wrong. But I was like, this dude, he is full of shit. This guy's a liar. This is not in the book. So he had gave the reference. So I hit pause. I opened the Bible. I had my Bible right there in front of me. I opened. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Matt Dillahunty knows your Bible better than anybody else I've ever met, I think.
Sure
So
does.
then I hit play. It went through the second, got to the third color, and then Matt went through, which he has down pat, obviously at this point, but went through his slavery argument. And I remember getting pissed. I hit pause again. I'm like, wow, this bald-headed guy just fucking hates God. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
You resorted to the usual Christian response. Yeah.
And I opened up to Exodus, and I'm like, but like everything, just talking about crumble, it crashed. That whole wall just crashed. And I remember staring at the Bible, and yeah, and I remember in my apartment by myself, my hands in the air, like I can't keep doing this. I can't keep justifying this. I can't keep believing this. And I remember I'd close, and it was a long time before I even opened that Bible again, because I closed it and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't justify this. I can't believe in this. And I can't keep going on pretending like this thing is real just because it may give me a little bit of a placebo effect, or it may make me feel a little better about bad times. So like Apostacie said, there's some other things in there, but those were the main the main walls or whatever that started to fall.
Yeah.
Now you were doing all that. Did you search for excuses to the things you were finding?
Oh, absolutely. Because I call it the Band-Aid doctrine. When you find one, you just throw a Band-Aid on that and then throw a Band-Aid on the other one. Then, you just try to cover it up.
Yeah.
FYI, the infants against the rocks is Psalms 137.
Dash children and rip open pregnant woman is Hosea 13:16.
So it's just in there a lot.
It's in there a lot.
They like throwing the babies against the rocks.
They love it.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're mad because we eat babies.
What are you supposed to do with all the ones lying around the rocks?
One. That's a good point. Fry them up.
Oh my gosh.
I guess.
Break out the hibachi.
Oh God.
So you mentioned the Atheist Experience. That was definitely one thing that helped me along my way as well. Anybody else? Any other shows or authors or anything that helped you out?
I listened to the Atheist Experience a few months. It's all been within a few months, but I went through a few. I've gone through my spurts of binging. Seth Andrews was one that I binged because I find him to be very compassionate too. He really. You can just hear him just really empathizing with people. He gets you can hear his annoyance with religion, but then he still has that understanding for people. And he gets it. And actually, I checked his book out from the library. It was probably the second book that I read, but I had no idea who he was. I was trying to find deconverted. Yeah. I was trying to just find any books that I could on leaving religion, end of December. And I just was like, oh, this looks like somebody who's leaving religion. Let me read it. And I read it and I was like, this guy is like, he knows exactly what I'm going through. And I didn't even know he had a podcast. And so I started listening to his podcast. And again, I think he's amazing. And then, Atheist Experience. And then Holy Kool-Aid was really good at like debunking a lot of things. And there's just a lot of great content creators. And then again, just
Great
listening to people's stories.
Yeah, and if I get
I'm just an old fucking dude. They didn't have podcasts when I got deconverted.
You had to check out books at the library.
I had to go to
horse
the
and
library, and I saw a book on the shelf that said, "Why I'm Not a Christian." I said, "What? I've never heard of that before." And I mean, I literally didn't, because I was surrounded growing up by Christians, and so I read Bertrand Russell's book, "Why I'm Not a Christian," and wow, that was the first domino that started falling. Now, it took years for me to get out, but anyway, one book, not one podcast.
If I could throw this out there, if there's like, if we, I guess, use a car windshield as the analogy, the first like little, like a little pebble hits it. There's just a little, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, right now, it's
I know all about that.
But it's so annoying because you always see it, right? It's always there. Your eye always catches it. And the first little like tink in the windshield was actually before I knew anything about atheist, before I even knew there was atheism anything on YouTube. Somehow I stumbled upon the one and only Anthony Magnabosco. And I heard him use the outsider test of faith on somebody. And I remember my jaw hit the floor and I was like, oh, what the fuck?
John Loftus talks about that too in his book as well.
Yeah. Yep. Which I'm getting ready to finish up reading right now. I remember because I was like, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? I don't know what to do with this. And that one, that was that first like ting that I could never stop thinking about. But what about the others? What about the other? Holy shit! What if they're right? And that fucked me up for a long time.
Well, it's tough, man. George Carlin. Anybody? George Carlin?
Oh, love George Carlin.
I've seen him live a couple times.
Oh wow!
I had never heard anybody talk about religion that way. When he came on, he just started. It's bullshit and all. Like, wow, you can talk about religion that way. And Hitchens, of course.
It's scary to even listen at first.
Yeah, it is. It's like I'm gonna go to hell now. Just listen to this. I mean, wait, it makes sense though. Not just
even like Sam Harris and Dawkins too before they went off the rails.
Yeah. Oh, because I have a thing.
So
to ask Neil. What would you tell your younger self?
Oh, that's something I ask people too. Well, first of all, I didn't really even tell you my story.
That's true. I kind of skipped over you.
I'm just cracking my stupid dad jokes all over the fucking place. Well, the funny thing is I'm adopted. I was born in 1966 on October 20th, and was taken home Halloween Day. So every other year I can celebrate my birthday on Halloween as my coming home day. I would dress up and shit. Anyway, I was adopted, and I was born to a Christian couple, Catholic actually. They had gotten it on in the back of a 57 Chevy, which I thought was kind of cool.
It was. That's the best Chevy.
Right? Right? 57 Chevy, two-door, Bel Air, hardtop, factory colors. The weird thing is my adopted dad that I grew up with was holding that exact fucking car for his firstborn son, which he ended up having to sell when they moved out of Florida. Anyway, so I was born to Catholics, and then I was raised by a Jewish couple. So I grew up in Judaism.
Wow.
And we had a little thing called Hebrew school. And I remember growing up and, sure, I believed in God, but most Jews today, I'm going to say this, probably ever since the Holocaust, are fairly secular. You do have your Hasidic and ultra-Orthodox type Jews as well, but most of them, like there's an interview with an elderly fellow that was a victim of the Holocaust. He survived it. He says, yeah, no, I don't believe in God anymore. And neither do many of the other survivors that went through this. Anyway, so my family was fairly secular, but we went to synagogue. We did all the holidays like Hanukkah, the high holidays like Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year. And of course, my favorite one, which is Passover, because you get to tell the bullshit story of the Exodus.
Disgusting story in the whole Bible, I think.
Yeah, pretty
Jesus.
much. Yeah. It's yeah, it is. But in Hebrew school, you learn about all these, like the David and Goliath and Samson and Delilah and all the other stories and stuff like that. And I was always asking questions like, how is this even possible? Teacher, like, what the fuck are you talking about? How's that even possible? Nobody can do that. Like, come on. And she's, it all happened. It's history. I'm like, I don't fucking buy this. So I was already not buying the shit even at the age of like 7.
Awesome.
I was like, I don't get it. But but I was, oh yeah, sure, God, he's up there somewhere, I guess. But anyway, and I went through most of my life like that, and then I actually went to Israel and lived there for a couple of years.
Oh wow!
Did their military stuff and whatnot there too.
Wow.
And I noticed that many Israelis weren't really religious either. Like most of them weren't religious either. So I just, the funny thing is I never really considered myself an atheist. Maybe I knew the word. I'd known some, because we have more up here in Canada than I think you guys do down there, or at least secular for the most part. So I used to get put out in the hallway because I asked too many questions all the time that they couldn't answer. Right? So,
that's a good place to put those people.
Yeah. Just stick me in the bathroom and tie me to the toilet. Yeah, I mean, I questioned everything, and then I did the bar mitzvah thing. I didn't care about the whole ceremony and all that shit. My voice cracked during the whole thing, and the whole place broke out in laughter. Oh, it's okay. I laughed right along with them because it was so funny. But the best part of that was all the gifts you get and the party afterwards. Because remember when I went? Well, remember none of you knew me then. So disco, the height of discos. I was the dancing prince out on the fucking floor. But, anyway, yeah. But yeah, and then as I grew older, I just like, people would ask, "Did you believe in God?" I go, not really. I just don't see it. So, and then of course I called myself an atheist long before I started seeing the atheist experience and all that. Anyway, but then I just started eating that stuff up because I need ammunition. I want to try to break the spell.
Yeah.
So like Daniel Dennett's book, which is a great book by the way. Breaking the Spell. I read way too much. Actually, I read and listen because I have audio books too that I like to listen to while I'm working in the lab. So. Yeah,
audiobooks are awesome for car rides. Absolutely, absolutely.
Because I can't stand there and read what I'm doing. Yeah, so I was born a Christian, but raised a Jew.
Wow, what a thing!
What the hell's going on with that?
That's
if Christianity is the real way to get to God, then how come He made me raised in the Jewish fucking faith?
Yeah.
Neil, his ways are higher than yours. Don't fucking worry about it.
Yeah.
He's fucking high, all right. I'll challenge him to a smoke off.
His ways are mysterious.
Mysterious
awesome.
My ass.
I have a question here for Oz. Fill in the blank. Jesus is A, a myth, B, a biscuit, or C, irons his socks.
He's a fucking myth.
Oh, I was going for biscuit. I was totally wrong.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I love to go to Popeyes and get a 2-piece and a biscuit. But when we're talking about Jesus, that's a myth.
2-piece and a
I do
Jesus.
love me some biscuits. Another one here. Do you still have a fear of hell? Oh, that's a good one. I kind of have another one with that, though. The hardest part of leaving. What was the hardest thing to leave as far as the religion part? What was the hardest part to let go? There it is. Of the religion. Was it the hell? Was it the community? What was it for you guys?
For me, it was the music.
The
music.
Yeah, I loved the music. I was a
never heard
soloist. I'd still go back and sing if I could stand the words, but I had a good tenor voice, and I literally could make the congregation cry. I could sing.
Wow.
Several
Bravo.
different songs in my repertoire. I could get people crying. In fact, I even made a contest in my mind. The last song, last time I sang in a church, because I was tenor soloist for a couple of different churches. Last time I was on my way out, period, because I was getting divorced. By the way, divorce is one of the best reasons, main reasons for getting out of religion.
Mm.
And I'm leaving this shit, but I had one more song to sing, and I said I'm going to see if I can make people cry, and I pulled out Jerusalem. It's an old favorite from all the standard stuff, and I sang that thing, and I had half the congregation in tears, and I realized, okay, this is just a big manipulation game that we play every Sunday morning. I was pretty good at it.
Apparently.
I mean, was the easiest. Having a mom that was a praise and worship pastor, I've heard them all. I've seen them all a million times, and she had 2 of her own albums. I hate Christian music. I can't.
Now, Oz, your mom was praise and worship praise and worship leader, right? Did she ever stand on stage and you were in the pews, and did she ever while she was up there singing, nod at you for not standing or clapping or singing properly?
Oh, I love that you asked. I just told this story on a channel the other day. So not only did she vocally lead, but she also played piano and led.
No.
And I kid you not, if you go back and find, because they had a TV ministry too at the church we went to, you could see the plastic spoon that she kept on the top of the piano to remind my brother and I that I will bring my ass off of this stage in your ass if you're acting out of line.
Oh my gosh.
So we didn't even need a look. She would just look down.
Hold it up.
She just looked down at the spoon.
Oh.
And we're like,
yes, Mom.
That's
amazing.
That's called the behavioral adjustment tool.
Yeah. Holy cow.
As far as the and this is the part that I hate that I have to talk about this, but I think it's one of the more important things to talk about is that fear of hell, and that was
never had it.
That
you're lucky.
Yeah.
There's no hell
for so long, so much so that it was about 2 years of therapy that I had to go through to redirect those
reprogram
in my brain, and to get away from that, because I still had nightmares. I would wake up, in sweats, because I was like, no, I don't believe, but I was still literally scared to death that if I die, I'm going to go to this place forever.
Aw.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is a I won't say it always is, but it's really a common symptom of trauma. But when people cannot get over that fear of hell, it gets embedded in kids' brains at 5, 6, 7 years old, and what goes in your brain then isn't there because of any rational argument. It's there because somebody terrorized you.
Yeah,
it's like Deneen referenced here. Is anybody ever had your family members tell you you're not going to see any family members if you don't believe? You're going to spend eternity without them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All the time.
That's a way to manipulate you, I think.
Big manipulation.
Believe. Yeah.
I would say the number 2 thing we hear at Recovery from Religion from our clients is fear of hell. Yeah. The number one is sexuality issues, but fear of hell is very close, and of course the two can come together. Of course, you're going to go to hell because you're gay. That's a pretty common thing.
I'd never got that whole. Why would an omnipotent being even give a shit about what your sexuality is?
Yeah, it makes no sense.
He's a pervert.
Yeah,
he's definitely.
Well, he's always watching us, so yeah.
Well, I like to say, if you're married and you're Christian, then every time you have sex, you're having a threesome with Jesus, because he's watching you.
He's right there.
He's watching you.
As my Aunt
Neil,
Kathy,
he's doing this.
As my Aunt Kathy would say, that she calls them quackadoodles. She's an atheist now, former believer, but she calls them quackadoodles. But that Todd White, the one message,
leg lengthening guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one message he gave was just remember, when you're in your room and you're beating it off and you're masturbating, you're doing what you're doing, God's right there as you're climaxing.
Doing
He's
that right now, actually.
Come on. Todd, this is what you spend your time thinking about. Is God
And your grandma.
watching you climax?
Oh my gosh.
This one's for you, Jesus. No, I'm coming in you.
Oh,
Too much.
Would that be
We're all going to hell.
would that be role playing, Neil?
Role reversal,
Extreme,
maybe?
Let's bring my
Yeah.
invisible friend in, shall we? He likes to watch. Oh,
yeah.
man.
He's right over there beside my invisible winning lottery ticket.
Wow.
So, Doc, have you had any Amish clients at Recovering from Religion?
Yes, we have, and we are connected. There, almost every religion has got an ex-religion group, and we've got an Amish group. But I had the this was right about the time the God Virus came out. My book, The God Virus. Out of the blue, I get an email from an Amish guy up in Maine, or I think it was Maine. Out of the blue, and he says, "I love your book," and I'm Amish. What? And that started a long distance correspondence.
Wow.
Then one day he shows up at my house. I mean, like, I invited him and didn't just show up, but and he and I've met, I think, 3 times over the last 10 or 15 years. But he was leaving. But in leaving Amish, he lost. He had 10 kids, and he lost contact with all of them. His wife picked up and secretly moved. So that and there are communities of Amish all over the United States, and they can hide people. And so she did. She took all 10 kids. Well, she took like 7 of them that were still younger than age.
Wow.
And he still doesn't know where they are. They hid him. She lives in some community somewhere in who knows. Anyway, yeah, we have Amish, and since that time, he's connected me with a number of other ex-Amish, and then there's a whole group that talks about Rumspringa and tries to help kids, because if kids leave, you know what Rumspringa is, don't you? Okay.
Yep, certainly.
Well, if that kid goes out and decides they don't want to go back, they have no life skills. They have no education. They are ready for sex trafficking and stuff like that. So there's some groups helping him. Anyway, why'd you ask about Amish? I'm just curious.
It was a question in the comments.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't paying any attention.
What Amish group are you connected with? Is the next question.
I'm not. Oh, I don't know. Go to our resources page. I can't keep track of all that. We've got ex-Mormon groups. We're connected with Footsteps, which is ex-Orthodox Jewish groups. We got ex-Catholic groups. We got all sorts of stuff. Our big thing right now, though, is Roe versus Wade stuff. We're out there in front trying to provide help and support for people who are dealing with that shit right now. And it sounds like it's not a religious issue, but it fucking is a religious issue.
Yep.
That's because we got a bunch of evangelical Christians on our Supreme Court.
Nut jobs. You can say it. It's okay.
Trying to, I would call them worse than that, but
Fuck sticks.
But I want to go back.
Call them douche canoes.
Douche canoes.
Douche canoe. I love that word. It's such a great word. Like
Yeah,
2
but
words
That's
together.
Canadian.
Is it?
Probably
I
is
love it.
Canadian.
It's a very Canadian term, a douche canoe. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have canoes down here. That's a Canadian thing.
I have one in my backyard. I live in Vegas.
Now, what do you have?
it?
Where do you use it?
I was gonna say.
Colorado River. We used to, anyways, before it all dried up
Okay.
almost. Yeah.
So, anyways, Michael, to answer your question, what would I would tell myself back in time if I went back?
Holy
in time?
cow! How
Say,
did I overlook your question answering again, Neil?
Good
That's okay.
memory.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
okay.
So
all right.
sticking your feet to the
Mine
fire.
like
here.
a steel trap with a broken spring.
Yes.
But anyway, I would tell myself, keep it up, buddy. You're on the right track.
Good job.
Well, I mean, if Jesus isn't going to be your encouragement, it's got to be you, right? I mean,
Nope.
shit.
There's no Jesus in Judaism, pal.
oh,
that's right,
yeah.
too.
That's
right, too.
true.
Yeah. Yeah. Or Yahweh.
We-
Yahweh's not going to be your encouragement.
Yahweh. It was originally El too.
Elohim.
Elohim, yeah. That's why you got words like Israel, which is land of God, Daniel, which is house of God, Raphael, etc., etc.
I mean, he's got like 100 names. Let's be real.
Seriously,
Yeah. That's true.
And none of them fit really well.
No, he doesn't, because he doesn't fucking exist. So
There it is.
Bingo.
Nailed it.
Like, it's so fucking obvious. It still boggles the mind that millions of people are still following this dimwit.
It does. It's just so weird. Like my show, Bible Says What? I talk to believers all over the world.
Yeah.
I just recently talked to a guy on Christian nationalism, and this guy, Looney Tunes, thinks that we should burn witches and people in the square. He wants a theocracy. There are real people out there like this, and it's scary. It's very scary.
The Christian nationalists, that is homegrown terrorism. That's all that is. Not to go political.
Yes.
Yeah.
Scary stuff, man. And then they're in our Supreme Court, which hopefully we'll have a whole other show on eventually here at one point. What aftermath has the panel had since leaving religion? Was religious trauma a problem for any of you guys?
I can go first. This is easy if you want me to go first.
Yeah, go for it.
And then I want to hear apostasy, because I know you've got something there. I know you do.
I do have some, but go for it, Oz.
Are you sure? Because
no.
Go Oz.
I'll
Where's your hand first?
I want to hear.
There was constant bombardment from, especially my mom, when she found out. And I remember when I told her, we were sitting on her back patio at her place, and before that, my mom and I were like the best of friends. And any type of life advice I needed, whatever, that was my go-to.
Yeah.
And I literally could feel everything change in that moment. And the way she was looking at me, the way she was talking to me, which she never talked to me like that, like the tone, just all of a sudden, just very condescending. And that was never my mom and I, right? It was always very loving and nurturing and so on. And it, I am too. Well, that's not even the worst of it, unfortunately.
Oh my gosh.
So that goes on. That was several years, and it got so toxic. It got so bad. There was about a year or so period that she had called me and was literally like screaming at me on the phone and telling me that I'm a bad father and a bad husband, and all of these things. And then as I'm trying to push back lovingly and respectfully, she had just hung up on me. So I then tried to call her back. She didn't answer. So for me, it was like, okay, enough's enough. And I called her back and she didn't answer. So I left a message. I said, Mom, until you're ready to sit down like adults and we can try to talk this through like adults, I do not want you to call me. I do not want you to text me. I don't want you to message me on Facebook. This is done. And you will not see your grandkids. You will not see me until we clear this up. And it was about a little over a year's time. Finally, she reached back out, and within 2 weeks of us saying, okay, well, we can start to make contact again, but we're going to move slowly. It was only about 2 weeks before it was a return to that type of behavior and that type of treatment. And then, through that, the rest of my family that are Christians, they weren't as vocal. You could feel it, but it wasn't as vocal, and said out loud. And unfortunately, it was July 31st of last year, so 2021. My mom actually ended up taking her own life, and
wow,
Jesus, Oz.
And it was through that process that I really saw my family's true colors. And they say that it's my fault, obviously, but I was not included. I'm the firstborn. I'm the oldest, and I was not included in any of the planning. I was never even told until Aunt Kathy told me that there was like a private, family only viewing the Thursday before the funeral, and I would have never known about it if it wasn't for my aunt. And then at the funeral, the most disgusting part is I didn't even see or talk to any of my family at the funeral. I had a seat in the back row while the rest of them were up in the front. And the pastor that pastors the church we went to in Columbus, Ohio, which I have a very, very heavy disdain and maybe even hatred for this man and what he did to myself and our family. of course, they invite him to come and do the service, and at the end, they turn it into a spectacle. It becomes a church service, and he's giving, a call to salvation. And at that point, I'd already disassociated twice, where there's moments of it I don't even remember being there. And I looked at my aunt and my two cousins, that they're the only other ones in the building that I'm aware of that were non-believers. I looked at them and I was like, I have to leave. I can't be here. I have to go. So I wasn't there for the burial. I wasn't there for any of it, because it literally, like, my body was shaking is even the word for it. It was like quaking, and that was you talk about multiple visits to your therapist per week.
Jesus, man.
After that, that's it, and I talk about it as much as I can, not because I love tearing that scab off.
Yeah,
that's the fucked up shit that people need to hear about, because it's not all sugar and cookies and cake and icing and all that. These bad ideas, these bad beliefs make what could be good people do really, really hurtful, fucked up things.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, man. That really sucks. I mean, if that's not proof that religion is toxic, I don't know what is. Holy cow!
No kidding.
Man.
Wow.
Sorry, dude.
I appreciate
that's one of the worst.
I can't even imagine.
I know.
That's one of the reasons I just don't come out to my family at this point. I have not. I just don't want to have that. I don't want to have that conversation. I'm a coward. I don't want to do it with my family. I love my family. I love the relationship I have as is. I mean, they know I'm not in the church, but like, I don't want to go through that, honestly. That sucks, man. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. I appreciate that.
We started something literally last month. As what you're saying is triggered me, or well, it might trigger me, but anyway, it triggered something in me. I have a very good friend whose husband died by suicide, and she has since started. She's created 2 videos. It's a long story. I don't want to go into the details of it right now. But the outcome of that is that we have started a whole channel at Recovering from Religion for people like you, Oz. I'm serious. Exactly what you just told us. Because when you have a loved one who died by suicide, you lose your social circle. Doesn't know what to do with you, and they cut you off. They won't talk to you. Yeah, you may have a therapist, but not everybody is a therapist. And you have nobody to talk to, and especially in religious environments, they blame you. Oftentimes, they look at you and say you're the problem. Anyway, so we started this whole channel. It's brand new, and I'm just saying this out loud now. It's so new that we probably don't have more than 4 or 5 people in this channel. But I'm not saying you should do this, Oz. I'm just saying if the listener, somebody listening right now, has experienced a loved one or somebody close to them dying by suicide, and you want to just talk to other people who've gone through the same thing, we have a place for you. You just have to come to Recover from Religion, say, I'd like to join your community, and they'll ask you a few vetting questions. And then once you get into the community, you can say, I'd like to join the suicide survivors group, and you'll be able to talk to other people like Oz they'll share their experiences. In her case, my friend's case, her name is Lindsay. She lost her whole support network because they blamed her for her husband's suicide. And it was tough. And she's one of the most genuine, sweet, caring people you'll ever meet. Anyway, I would tell you the whole, very tough topic, but an important topic. And I want to come back to something. If I could jump back to apostasy, I'll try to get that right. People, I see patterns in people leaving a religion, and those patterns. I think it's important to realize that everybody goes through these patterns. Now, not everybody goes through every pattern. I'm not saying that.
A lot of similarities. So
there's a hell of a lot of similarities. And for example, I was banging in the backseat of a '57 Chevy about the time you were born, Neil. I don't know. I'm just saying. You're 16 years younger than me, so
Are you my dad?
that thought went through my head. I don't think so. We were pretty good about using condoms, so I don't think so.
Hey, they had condoms back then?
Yeah, but you had to go to the filling station on the corner in the dirty bathroom and put your quarter in. You get a condom.
Oh, yeah. This is the worst chewing gum I've ever had.
Oh, boy.
I was going to tell you something here. It's like the trauma. There's these trauma patterns, and we act them out unknowingly. And often people really do need to work these things through. And oftentimes it means you need a therapist to help you with that. So I just encourage people, don't do this alone. You'll experience a lot of pain because of the trauma you're not working through. And I had something related to what Stacy was said earlier, but I don't remember what it was now. I'm in the middle of my glass of wine.
Oh.
Michael, if there's one thing that I forgot to throw in there, and this is more for somebody that's maybe listening now or later, that maybe it's just the deconversion part or a loss. It doesn't even need to be suicide, but just a loss, and maybe it's your first loss since you walked away from faith. I can tell you right now, there were twice, and one I can, if I close my eyes and imagine, it's like still like it was yesterday. I remember I was by myself. I was out on the patio, and I remember like staring up in the sky and yelling, "God, if you are there, it's showtime, bro. It's showtime." And my mom, that's given her entire life to you, she's dedicated everything she's ever had and sacrificed everything she's ever had. She's laying in ICU on life support. It's showtime. The lights are on, and all of your people are down here doing all the prayers that, where two or more are gathered, and you ask anything in my name, and yada. It's showtime, bro. It's So if you're going through that, or if you do, and I hope not, but in the near future, you have to go through that. You're going to have those moments that it's are you there? Are you there? And it's okay to wonder, but just remember, stay skeptical, keep asking the questions, and keep the right state of mind. But I can almost guarantee it. You're going to have those moments of what if? Is he there? God, I wish he was there right now. And that's normal.
Mm-hmm. And people tell us all the time. I find myself praying. I don't even believe in that shit anymore. It's because it's a reflex. It's
habit,
a pattern. Habit.
It's called meditation.
That you have developed.
Or you can pray to Spider-Man. Works the same.
I remembered what I was going to say about what Apostacie said earlier. You feel the freedom, the lifting of a big burden.
I hear that a lot.
It's such a relief.
It's like a layer of personality is forced upon you. It's like you're forced to be in this restricted costume. You have to wear it all the time.
You just love your sin. That's all.
And then Stacy, when Apostacie, when you throw it off, you feel the freedom. Now here's the danger, and I think this is an important. I'm always looking at the psychological component. So forgive me if you want me to shut up and not talk about that. But
please do. Please
no.
Please don't shut up. Please do continue.
Please talk.
Well, I know you wanted my story, but I'd rather deal with the psychology than my story, because you can hear my story anywhere. And especially Neil's. Neil and I had a great talk. I love doing it.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome.
So here's the deal. People, there are rebound effects, and there's things that happen. And just because you've thrown this off does not mean you've gotten rid of everything. You can leave religion, but religion may not leave you.
Yeah.
So people like you, Apostacie or Oz, you're now out, but now there's some consequences that come that you may not even be aware of. And I just want people to learn to be aware of those things. For some people, as you said, Stacy, the dominoes fell and happened very quickly. And I see that a lot of people, but they're only about half the people where the dominoes just fall, and they're in a month they're finished with it. or a week. I mean, I've had people say that. The other half go through it real slowly. They let go of it easily. They don't let go of it easily. It's like you, Michael. You're afraid of the consequences to your family and stuff. So we need to be compassionate. I mean, you're lucky if you can get out of it in a week or a month, but we need to be compassionate for the people it takes longer to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But even the people who get out in a month, here's the deal. In 6 months after you finished, I'll pick on you, Stacy, again.
That's
in
fine.
the 6 months after you come out, or a year or 2 or 3 years, you lose something someone who's close to you. There's a lot of things that are going to get triggered that relate right back to religion, eternal life, Jesus, all this bullshit. And you're going to have to go to a funeral, as as we just heard from Oz, and it's best to start now to prepare for those things, because your brain is going to revert to that early childhood training. And it's really programming, it's brainwashing. It's tough if you're not prepared for it. But we're talking here today, and I think hopefully this kind of open talk that we're doing can help people. I think that's why we all 5 of us are here.
Yeah,
that's why I do what I do. Hopefully somebody that's struggling falls or stumbles across one of these, and it's like, oh wow, okay, wow, there's lots of people like I'm feeling now out there, and they seem to have a great community, which is why I did the after party, so they get to meet other people and build another community, because the loss of a community can be devastating to some people, right? So,
it hurts. It hurts.
Yep.
Like no sugarcoating. I'm not gonna bullshit you. It sucks and it hurts. And Ray, you're right. Or Darrel Ray, you're right. It should be something that all of us, and even whoever it is in my family next that goes, if I'm not the first one, that I am already prepping, for that, because now I know what it feels like, and man, that shit fucking hurts.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah.
Glad I was able to give you a great big hug, brother, at the Better Conference.
Absolutely.
Aw.
Amazing
That's
people.
awesome.
You guys are amazing people. Honestly.
This is so awesome.
Apostasy. I mean, we had a comment earlier just about you help somebody with a fear of hell.
That was my mom.
That's amazing.
Oh, cool. Good for you.
That's my mom. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I really felt for you, Oz, because my mom and I are just as close as you and your mom. And I couldn't imagine what you felt telling her. And I was lucky enough that when I told my mom, she kind of was like, oh, I've kind of been feeling the same way my whole life, and didn't have anyone to really talk to, because I had such a strong faith. And so when I told her, she's just like, oh, finally, okay. So it just was kind of like the opposite. But I'm sorry it wasn't the same.
Your mom's awesome, Stacey.
My mom,
awesome.
she is really great. That's not to say that I haven't gone through a lot of turmoil, but
tell us about your aftermath a little bit. Why don't you?
Yeah. So I'll just quickly touch on that. Thankfully, we have moved away from our church that we were members at. But even though I did lose my faith or deconvert or whatever you want to call it, it was still scary to tell people. Like I've only gotten a little more public in the last month probably about 2 or 3 months, probably since Neil's show in April. That really helped. And
nice job, Neil.
But you were a little nervous about
I was nervous. Yeah, I was. But it was in April that our former church found out through Twitter that I was an atheist. And not that I was trying to hide anything, really. And they sent us a formal letter telling us that we needed to repent of our evil ways.
A formal letter
on letterhead. Yeah.
Wow.
And
wow.
They gave us like 2 options and basically,
holy cow.
Yeah. And so if not, then strict or like repercussions were going to take place. And so we were like, okay, whatever. We don't live there. Just do what you want. And so I started tuning into the live streams because I was very curious. And it was Easter Sunday service that they titled it God disciplines his children. And I went, oh, here we go. My heart was
Are they gonna come? Are they gonna come spank you? I don't know.
And
The
so-
divine spanking.
Hey!
Christians
So-
are kinkier than they let on. I
right.
think.
So that was mention one. That was the first public mention. After that sermon, they let the congregation know that my husband and I and our family had begun departing from the faith, and that our salvation was in jeopardy. And they publicly named us and called us out. And then the next weekend or 2 weekends after, at the beginning of the service, they had one of the elders come up and make a formal announcement, like reading from a paper. Before the service, the consistory has a formal announcement regarding Brian and Stacy, and they said our last name. And they even mentioned our children's names.
That's
They're-
the worst.
Wow.
they and our children are 10, 7 at the time, and 3, and mentioned them. And it was about 7 minutes long, the whole announcement regarding us. And
Wow.
my heart was just pounding. Like, I didn't care, but it also was like a punch in the gut, right?
Yeah.
And the thing was, like, nobody had really reached out. I knew everyone was very much like gossiping, and I thought, no one's going to care. And my Instagram was it's public. And so as soon as that had ended, a bunch of people came to like check out my Instagram stories and see what I was up to. And I'm like, yeah, I'm such a heathen. Like, I'm going to the park with my kids now. Like, this is the atheist life. And so, yeah. And then I just tune in on occasion, and every so often they'll mention us again in prayer. And that we have not been formally excommunicated, but that is part of the Reformed churches in their articles, in their, conditions, terms and conditions, I call it. So I think that'll probably happen at the beginning, like next year. They'll probably give it a year because they want us to repent and come back. And I have spoken to someone. And I'll just finish this really quick, but
Yeah.
I said, they're not doing this for us at
No.
all.
Yeah.
They're doing this for all of you. They're
Yes,
doing
for their
this
sake.
so that you guys all know,
Totally.
we don't want to be in this position. We don't want to be called out. They are doing it for you, to scare you, because trust me, this is doing nothing for us. And I'm not digging my heels in just to be rebellious, because I'm just not
You
changing.
love
We're not
sinning.
changing. Yeah, exactly. Apparently. So anyway, so that's been that. And
Well, you said
What-
earlier,
what-
Stacey, that you couldn't once you sort of know, it's hard to go back. I always
Yeah.
equated the scene from Wizard of Oz. Once you've seen behind the
Mhm.
curtain,
yes,
you can't
Yeah.
unsee
No.
what you've seen
True.
behind the curtain.
exactly. And I just
What would they have done if you had repented and said, "I become a Catholic" or "I become a Mormon"?
Well, that's exactly, like, at one point the pastor kept checking in on us because we moved and he wanted us to find a church, and he was like, well, we moved to a smaller town, so there's not as many options. And I'm like, well, we tried a Baptist church. He's like, well, they're Baptist. And I was like, okay, well,
Oh yeah,
And
that's
I know,
really
so then
bad.
when I did tell him, like, we're not interested in joining any church, he was like, well, just join a church. So that I'm like, well, should we join like a Christian Science church? Should we join a Satanist? Like, you said join any church. Like, are you just desperate for us to join any church? Like, he didn't
There are
care
humanist
then.
churches.
Yeah, like,
I
he
hear the
didn't
flying spaghetti
care.
monster's looking for some.
Yeah.
We will accept you into the FSM.
Dr. Josh.
church.
Thank
Yep.
you. So yeah, and then other than that, I have noticed since I have gotten, I did get public on my personal Instagram with my friends, because I've had a lot of people message me like, what's going on with you? We haven't seen you in a while, and like, you've changed. So I did a live stream with a friend and basically gave my deconversion story just a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, I just got to get it out because I'm very transparent. And since then I have had friends like basically unfriend me and just kind of like, okay, I'm gone.
Wow.
So it's whatever.
But you
So
gain new friends. So
It-
I
Yeah,
have,
it-
and I really have.
And
Yeah.
You do lose people.
friends won't throw you out just because you change your mind on something.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Nope.
exactly. And I just don't get it. So, Oz, I
Wait,
feel like you're going to say something.
Just because my ADHD brain, I will forget.
It's fine.
Wes, if you can throw Dr. Josh's comment, I don't really.
Yeah, throw that back up there.
I don't really care about the comment, Josh. But I
Is he acting like Kent?
because we're this is a game that we play. But the reason so digital Humarubi, as I say. If you don't know Dr. Josh and Megan, this is kind of a follow up to what Apostacie was just talking about.
Okay.
The new family that you get to choose who's in your family. Dr. Josh was one that, if it wasn't through that period where I lost my mom, even when she was still in ICU, every day, if not every other day, Josh was checking on me and calling me, checking on me and calling me. And guess where nobody called me from? The church. There's not a single one of those people ever bothered to see how I was doing, how I was taking everything, how I was healing. And if anything, to what you're just talking about, the church making their formal announcements, mine, I think mine is comical because I'm used as the altar call bait.
No.
Right.
And I literally,
Wonderful.
I had somebody tell me about it on their live feed. So I went to, back in their history and pulled up the video from that Sunday, and I'll be goddamned if he didn't name me by name.
Wow.
And talk about, being lost. And you don't want to be like my brother Austin, and you don't want to, go to hell, whatever the words were that he used. But I'm sitting there, I'm like, why me? Why are you using me? There's so many examples in the Bible to use. Why are you using me?
Yeah. Because it's someone that's like happening right now in real time that people know. And it's like that emotional, like, but manipulative.
It's, remember my brother that played drums? And, remember he oversaw your small groups? And now
look what happened.
Now look at him. He eats babies.
Look at me.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, Oz, man. That's a hell of a thing,
I'm so
dude.
sorry. Thank you for sharing.
You're going to become canon in the Bible now. So just add you to it now.
Yeah.
Quote the Oz quotes from the Bible now.
Absolutely. Oz is going in my Bible, that's for sure.
Oz 3:16.
Oz 3:16.
I like that.
Awesome. Wow. All right, guys, we're about out of time here. Any closing comments?
Oh, no, I got some time. Sorry.
Well, yeah,
Of
I'd like to let everybody know that we are Recovered Religion. We're doing our excursion in September, and it's a place for we'll get between 70, 80 people coming. Thomas Westbrook will be there as one of our speakers, speaking on the fear of hell. That's his theme. We'll have a couple psychologists talking about stuff. We'll have a psychologist doing meditation training. We'll have some good speakers, but the real thing is just being there with other people who are recovering and just getting to connect with other human beings. And we'll have a number of volunteers there as well. Gail's going to be there. Helen was scheduled to come, but she had to change because of her family, some family issues. But yeah, I'd like to just let everybody know. And if you need help around any of the stuff we talked about here today, go to recoveredfromreligion.org and hit the chat button or phone call us.
Flash that one more time on the bottom there.
We have people that are well trained to listen to you non-judgmentally and help you find resources. I mean, one of the resources we've got, and it's a big one, is Thomas Westbrook's Holy Kool-Aid's Fear of Hell videos. We probably send 100 people a month to his videos, and we send people we send people to Neil's stories and Mormon Stories podcast. That we listen, and we help you connect with the kind of stuff. And of course, you might want to read one of my books, Sex and God or the Vampires. And if you can't read,
both now.
If you can't read, you can.
No.
Does it come with that?
Play with the knob.
Is that the first penis on the show ever? I just want to know.
when I published the God virus, I bought 300 of these, 300 of these. And,
Keep showing it.
And when
it's back.
When I would speak on, oh yeah, this is too small for me.
I was gonna say it's very tiny.
I would give it away as prizes as I was speaking about my new book, The Sex of God. I gave 300 of those things out, and I got several. I generally only gave them to people who wanted them. Okay, I didn't give them to people who didn't, and those would be vagina owners oftentimes. And I got some complaints. From this. They said it needs to be bigger, so I didn't.
I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Anyway, you asked for it, Michael.
After hours again.
Oh wait, are we still live? Crap.
I'm crying. Yeah.
I love it. This is so good.
That's awesome.
I see Kat. She said she wants her signed. I did sign them when they were still in the packaging. And about a year after I gave one out, I gave them out literally at my talks. This woman comes up to me and she complains about it, says it was too small. And another woman comes up to me in the same place and said, and she said, I want you to sign it. And I did sign it on the packaging, not on the dildo. And about 3 years later, I went back there. I was in Raleigh, North Carolina. I spoke there and I stayed at her house and she said, hey, come in my bedroom. I want to show you something. She had pictures hung on the wall, like anybody would. But in the middle was that dildo. It was still in its packaging, hanging on the wall. She never opened it, but it had my signature on it. So there you go.
That's
amazing. Well, that's the best story I've heard.
That's a great
awesome.
final thought.
Holy cow. Well, anybody can top that? Anybody got to top that?
I all I know is I now need a dildo that has been signed by Dr. Ray.
Absolutely. I expect one signed and delivered, sir.
Signed, sealed, delivered.
It's going to be hanging on my office wall. That's amazing. Amazing.
I hope it's the kind you can stick to things, and I'm just going to wear it on my forehead.
Just during an interview with a random Christian, just stick her. Hi.
Yeah. Just call me dickhead.
I mean, you already think I'm a dickhead anyways.
Yeah.
Own it.
Oh, I love it.
I still have people come to my talks and they'll say, hey, I love your talk, but I've still got your dildo. I still have your dildo. And they will. This 10, 15 years ago, I gave them, they still got the damn dildo.
That's a thing,
Wow.
man. That's an accomplishment right there. Holy
well,
cow.
I consider that one of my 2 or 3 achievements in life.
Signing dildos. I don't think I've ever been there.
Goals to strive for. That's a goal right there. Holy shit. Wow. Anybody topping that? Anybody got a closing?
Nope.
I'm not even going to try.
Don't even touch it.
How do you top that?
I can't top it, but Jena will she'd be angry at me if I didn't mention, especially following up this show on September 9th. To become a favorite on our channel on T.A.N.G, it's called Becoming Comfortable with the Uncomfortable. And we have a panel discussion as a topic each month. And this month, we're going to be talking about divorce and what that looks like now, minus the faith again, and minus the prayer and the blah, 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 around preparing for your partner. And
good topic, yeah.
So we'll be talking about that. So if you have time, September 9th, 10 p.m. Eastern time, be there or don't.
Check out T.A.N.G. Absolutely. Neil, where we can find your stuff, man?
Well, you can find me. Well, of course, I'm right here on YouTube. I also go on Twitch, and I also air up on Twitter. It's Neil the 604 Atheist. Deconversion Stories with Neil and Mikey Famine, who's my producer and co-host as well. And yeah, I've been doing this since 2018, late 2018, literally 4 years now. So about 100 people a year on average. So
congratulations.
Is there an atheist that you haven't talked to that you want to?
Yeah. Any one of them that hasn't been on my show.
I
want to talk to everybody that's
nailed it.
But you mean like somebody that's
like
a known,
or
like a well-known sort of thing?
Anybody?
honestly, I've had pretty much all the atheists that I discovered while falling down the atheist rabbit hole on YouTube, like this fellow right here, Dr. Darrel Ray, and others that I have huge amounts of respect for what they do for the community and their advocacy. I've pretty much had on the show. One, I really wanted to have Matt on the show, Matt Dillahunty, and he just didn't want to tell his story again. So instead of that, sometimes I'll change it up a little bit, and we talked about how to make the community better, what kind of things we do to do that. So it's an interesting conversation there as well. But I've had like some of the people that I really had a lot of respect for on the show already, but there are still a few. Like I'd love to have I had Andrew Seidel on, but I'd love to have Lori and the names escape me.
Great people.
No,
Well, Neil, I really enjoyed being on your show too, so thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you
You're
having
awesome,
me on as
though.
well. Absolutely.
And
It was
everyone
great.
says it's like a rite of passage. So
It is. I think it is. Absolutely.
Yeah,
If
you're
an
not a
atheist
true
coming
atheist.
out.
You're
Yeah.
not a
No.
true atheist if you haven't been on Neil's show.
That's
no,
it.
it
There
is
it
a
is.
rite of passage, and I have to say that rings true.
You heard it here, folks.
Dan Barker. That's it. I'd love to have Dan Barker
Oh,
on Lori
good
Gaynor.
one.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
although I think he's always been an atheist, Dennis LeBay, like some of the guys that were involved with the atheist experience when I was first watching it, and the nonprofits when I was sort of like Jeff D. I'd love to have him on. I'd love to have Russell Glasser on. But they sort of have disappeared, and I really don't know how to get in touch with these people. So. I can get in touch with LeBay because him and I bump into each other quite often on like Twitter or Facebook. But almost everyone that I've had a lot of respect for has been on the show.
You should have Drew on.
Drew?
Is that genetically modified skeptic?
Oh,
I was
yeah.
just thinking that. I would love to.
He's been
see-
on the show.
Has he?
Bum, bum, bum.
Yes.
Really?
Have
Oh,
you had
Oh.
have you had Drew Beckius?
I have not.
Yeah, you'd like.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
that's a good
He's been on.
idea.
He's
There it
got a
is.
great, and I love his book. He's one of the few books about coming out and leaving Christianity I think are worth reading. There's a lot of shit out there, but
Sure.
his is
There's
good.
a lot of shit out there.
I'd
Yeah.
love to have Robert Bryce on too. He'd be cool.
Oh, Price will be a good one. Oh, well, I don't know. He'd be an interesting character for sure.
Have-
He's got
have
his
you-
views.
I
you
know,
had-
and some of them are.
Have you had Gail Jordan on?
Yes, I have.
Okay, I thought maybe you had.
Have you had any big name like former Christian like singers that have fallen
You mean like
fallen
John
away?
Steingart?
Or Darrel
like
Ray.
him, or there's been a no, but I mean like yeah, but there's
Pretty
been
sure
a
John
few.
doesn't want to come on my show for whatever
No,
reason.
but I think there was someone from like, was it DC Talk recently?
Oh, yeah.
Or-
Oh, my God, dude. Get that guy.
yeah.
It was a Michael
I
or
don't know who
something, I
that
think
is.
it was. Wait, you don't know who DC Talk is?
No,
Because
no.
that would be a big one.
Okay, so DC
I do
Talk
know
is
DC
really
Talk.
popular Christian band way back in the way. I used to listen to them. I love
Like the
rap
90s.
music. I was
Oh,
having
they
the
say-
way.
Jesus
There's a
Freak?
ton of songs.
Jesus
Freak. Oh my God, that was I used to rock out to that shit all the time. No,
God,
yeah,
you remember I was
DC Talk
raised.
guys.
I didn't listen to that stuff.
Oh, you're Jewish, yeah.
Well, that
yeah,
would
yeah.
be actually a really interesting,
Holy
kinda-
cow, that
Black
would be
Sabbath and
awesome.
Zeppelin and
right?
Well,
Yeah.
Not us. We were listening to good old DC talk.
Newsboys and all that.
Yes.
Oh man.
Oh, I know
Holy
the Newsboys
cow.
because we used to sell them in the record store.
Well, there's that guy, the Newsboys guy, deconverted as well.
Amy Grant and all the other.
And if
Oh my
you're
God, Amy
Christian
Grant.
music.
Michael
section.
W. Smith. There's one.
Yeah.
If
Well,
you're
he's
familiar-
still a
shit out there.
Christian, isn't he? I think he's still
I don't
a
know.
Christian.
I should have him on my show. That'd be
He is.
great.
You should.
Oh, I'm gonna start reaching out to bigger people. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for that,
Okay.
everybody. We
This
know
was
where to
fun.
find your stuff, Neil. Oz, we know where to find your stuff. T.A.N.G, Dr. Darrel Ray. Let's throw that
Great-
number up there one
great
last
channel.
time. There
Thank
it is.
you.
Amazing work you do. Thank you so much. Apostacie, where can we find your stuff?
I'm on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram, but yeah, I've kind of had a bit of a brain fog the last 2 weeks. It's been busy getting back to school with the kids, so
Oh,
haven't posted a lot, but I am on there, and if people do message me, I always message back. So yeah,
awesome.
and then I'm here.
And you're here with me.
And I'm
Thank
here.
you so much for that.
Yes.
You can
thank
find me at
you.
thebiblesayswhat.com. My show is also there. I'd like to thank the patrons of the show: Kathy Cotton, Cindy Plaza, Bryce, Deborah. I always go with Deborah Grace. I know it's Deborah Grace. Sorry, Deborah. Sonny Shell, Aaron Coalson, and Phil Calderone. Also, this Saturday, if we can throw that up there, Wes, we have some shows coming up. Bum, bum, bum. Mexican Atheist at 1 p.m. Central, and Human Rights versus Religious Freedom by Women for Everyone at 3:30 Central Time. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thank you guys for all of your answers and your explanation, stories, and everything. It's awesome. Appreciate you guys. A wonderful bunch of people. Keep doing what you do.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Thanks
everyone.
for having us on.
That's all the show we have for you today.